Hey Internet, it's time for some progress updates, and then I'm going to run you through a delicious drink recipe that I drink all the time now, and, well, there's some more changes, but we'll get to those later. First, the progress I have made. Well, I have lost another 12 pounds and a ½ inch off my waist. Doing pretty good in that part, and probably had a bit to do with that 9.3 mile run that I managed to run, but the overall mileage is a little lower because I was planning in advance before my move that I would have to be running back-to-back days. So that's why that's a little lower, but 9.3 miles, pretty dang good, especially at the weight I was carrying around at that moment. But let's move on to the recipe. Alright, for starters, with this Iskiate or Chia Fresca, whatever you want to call it, you're going to need some chia seeds. Now, you're only going to need about a tablespoon. Got them in my glass right here. Then you're going to need 10 ounces of warm water, and you'll see why you need warm water in a minute. You just go ahead, pour that right in. That stirs it itself. And you're just going to let this sit for about 5 minutes, and then these seeds here are gonna kind of get a gummy look to them. There's gonna get a film around each one of the seeds as it's sitting in the water. It kind of looks like small frog eggs, like tadpoles. But yeah, you'll see that it'll clump up, and the longer you let it stay in there, the more clumpy it'll get. But we'll give it about 5 minutes is what I do. Alright, it's been 5 minutes. You probably can't really tell from there, but they've gummed up quite nicely. And then the last two steps, this is really easy to make. All you're going to need is a tablespoon of honey, whatever kind you want to use. I like this stuff. It's nice and thick. And you're going to need 3 tablespoons of lime juice. You can squeeze it yourself if you want, or you can be lazy like I am. Alright, so what you want to do is go ahead. What I do is I put the lime in first. Just pour that in. Adds a good fruity flavor to it. Now let's add the sweetness, because that would be way too sour on its own. Just 1 tablespoon. You can see how thick that is. That's honey. Barely blobbing down, and that's why you need warmer water. You can almost use hot water. Still, it won't taste too shabby. Actually brings out the flavor more if you have the warmth, but the warmth will help take the honey off your spoon. Now, if you're using like ultra refined honey, you probably won't run into that issue as much as somebody using raw honey, but you'll find, see, it doesn't really come off that well. I don't have that hot of water, but the hotter your water is, the easier it'll be to dissolve your honey. But just keep stirring, it'll dissolve. Alright, now the final step is just to drink it and enjoy that. You can see it's got a nice interesting look to it. I'm sure if you're drinking this outside of your house, you'll get a couple questions asked, but it's really good to drink this before your run to help, or maybe even during, if you can handle all the citrus in your probably pretty close to empty stomach if you're slamming this on a good amount. But I'd take it before my runs, and it's a really good blend. The only thing you got to watch out for, if you're bearded like I am, those gummy little chia seeds are going to stick all through your facial hair. But let's get on to the changes. Now, when I moved to Colorado, I expected there to be snow. It's the winter. It's Colorado. The Rockies are there. But I kept being told, it'll melt off. It melts off quickly. Well, the first day I got here, it snowed. And I think the second day I got here, it snowed. And the third day it might have, but see, what it does is it'll melt it off quickly. But here in Colorado Springs, it's very windy. So that means ice then. And I was already planning on running on a rock path. So I had to succumb to the weather and decide, okay, maybe I won't run through the winter, which kind of sucks. I mean, I got up to 9.3 miles. That's a lot of progress. And so, I mean, from running alone, I've lost 36 pounds, and I've lost 4.5 inches off my waist. That's not too shabby. So how am I going to continue to become Tarumaran? Well, as you know, if you've been following these videos, I only ate the pinole and the Iskiate and the soup and the burritos on the days that I ran. So I was only, I think at first I was doing 3 days a week, and then once I got up in miles, I went down to 2 days a week. So it was only 2 to 3 days a week I was eating like this. So since I can't run, now what I'm going to do is 6 days a week, I'm going to eat the pinole for breakfast with a hard-boiled egg, an orange, and then for lunch, 6 days a week, I'm going to have that pinole brownie that I would normally have on my runs, and I'll have a glass of Iskiate. And then for dinner, just whatever, portion controlled meal. Doesn't have to be super healthy. And then 1 day a week I'll have the cheat day as usual. So I'm gonna keep shaving down the stomach, dropping the weight, and I'm only doing this thing where I'm updating you monthly until March. By March it'll probably get to be the weather where I can run again. I'm not like second guessing trying to schedule around the weather. So I'll probably be a lot better weight to be running, and I'll break out my zero shoes again once the weather clears. But for now, 6 days a week of eating my wet sand and drinking my frog eggs. Talk to you next month.